the last couple of days has been inundated with a couple of back and forth on the series of bombshell released by the ex-Kaduna State Governor Malam El-Rufai on the state of the nation. And one of it is that he said categorically that bandits are being paid ransom in some of these flashpoints. And the Office of the National Security Advisor had debunked this statement, saying that they have discouraged ransom, that rather they have adopted a kinetic approach and community engagement. And in joining us on this discussion, we have the former theater commander of Operation Lafia Dole, Major General Rogers Nicholas, with us and live on the studio. And he will be telling us, by the way, he's a war general, not just office general. So he knows the backstory and the inside story of some of these intricacies when it comes to fighting banditry and terrorism in the country. You're welcome.
Thank you, viewers.
General Nicholas.
Thank you very much.
Now, we've seen the back and forth. The Office of the National Advisor in blunt denial that they paid ransom, but he also he added a caveat or an improviso that they do community engagement. When they say community engagement, we are at loss. Does it involve a backdoor approach of what could be called ransom?
Thank you very much. The issue of community engagement here has to do with non-kinetic efforts of the governments and particularly of the security agencies. Non-kinetic effort includes having town hall meetings, providing succor, dealing with issues of quick impact projects like providing borehole waters, fixing destroyed schools, worship centers, and providing palliatives, and having discussions, dialoguing with various communities and people involved in the issue of trying to resolve the crisis.
Okay, let me do a follow-up on this. So when you have abducted persons now, and the bandits, of course, have made a clear demand for ransom, and so how does the government, the military, how do they go about this in securing some of this release? Because we've seen a situation where it looks like they were released and not captured. You know, there's a difference between the two. So when the abductors, the bandits, are making such a release after going through a long process of abducting these people, what could have been the back play in this process if ransom was not paid?
Well, you know, from the military point of view, there's no money budgeted for something like ransom and things like that. The military does not have that kind of fund. Possibly the civilian component may have anything to do with that, but basically not with the military, not with the security agencies, because there's no fund budgeted for such things. So what we do, like I said, is trying to negotiate with the communities involved in terms of a non-kinetic effort that we are making. We're talking about ransom physically. I don't see any military commander providing such fund. Of course, where would they get it from? Such things are not budgeted for, so we don't have any money made for payment of ransom. And of course, the government has made it clear that government will not pay ransom for anything happening. But there could be possible negotiation, dialoguing with those people involved, and then making them release the people that they've captured. We've seen situations where some local government administration have made contact with the bandits, and then have gone into discussing with them, maybe having the dialogue and then give and take issues, and then by the end of the day, people are released.
Now, Major General, let's go back a little bit here. Former Governor El-Rufai has accused the federal government, particularly the NSA's office, of empowering bandits through monthly allowances and food supplies as part of this non-kinetic strategies that we're discussing. From your experience, how accurate are these type of claims? Can you give some clarity on what you know concerning this?
Well, I don't think it's right. I don't think El-Rufai is right on what he's saying. He was a governor before, and then he was accused of the same thing. So for him to come up now and be accusing the current administration of paying up bandits, I don't think it's right. But if he has an evidence, let him present his evidence to to Nigerians to see. Otherwise, these are just mere political statements. All I know that the military and the other security agents are doing their best to make sure that people regain their freedoms, and then that the fight against insurgency is brought to a halt, trying to do all manner of things that would be better. To say that government is paying ransom, I don't think it's correct, because there's a policy already on that government will not negotiate ransom issues with anybody. So when there is success by the security agencies, we shouldn't merge it with negative comments of saying that government is paying ransom to release people. I don't think, I've never witnessed that. I've not had any military commander doing that. And like I said earlier on, there are no budgets for such situations. Nothing at all. Nothing.
Right now,
okay,
given...
Major
Okay,
General
sure.
Nicholas, now I think it's very important here that... sorry, Yolanda,
No,
I was
go
just
ahead.
coming in. So El-Rufai very famously had said in the past when he was governor that he believed in carpet bombing the terrorists. And in the same interview where he alleged that the government was essentially feeding bandits, he also said that the only repentant bandit is a dead one. So yes, he has been, as you said before, accused of such things, but he is raising these accusations, and he clarified that it was not the Kaduna State government, but that it was the Office of the National Security Advisor, because you have stressed here today that the military wouldn't have the budget to pay bandits. But we're talking about these non-kinetic strategies. We're talking about clarifying what community engagement means. And so if bandits are getting rehabilitated, as he said, or if they are getting fed, as he said, how would that differ? What exactly would these community engagements entail? And how would it differ from, let's say, the aid organizations in the past that they were accused of supporting banditry when they provided medical attention to bandits?
Well, part of the community engagement on the side of the security agencies has to do with non-kinetic efforts, which I said include issues like quick impact project, providing borehole to the communities, providing medical aid assistance to the various communities, particularly those that are highly vulnerable that were attacked earlier on, and maybe fixing their churches, mosques, and
yes.
schools.
So how would providing medical aid to a bandit or a borehole to a bandit coming from the Office of the National Security Advisor, how would that differ from an aid group doing the same?
No. There's nobody giving bandits anything. Bandits don't have any community to say that where you're going to go and provide them anything. We are providing, those things are being provided to communities where there is stability, communities where there are no, community that has been attacked and then abandoned. That is where the NSA office, I'm sure, will be doing things like that. But talking about going to the bandit enclave and start providing those things, it doesn't hold water.
Okay, now let me come in here. You admitted that the military and the federal government do negotiate with bandits. And if I may be right, when you come to the negotiating table, just like you also expanded further, that it involves give and take. So usually what are the conditions the bandits give? Because you've admitted that the federal government and the military do negotiate with bandits. So what are the conditions and how do you meet those conditions at the negotiating table?
Let me make it very clear here. I've never said that the military negotiate with bandits. Our mandate to deal with the bandits is very, very clear. It's to neutralize the bandits. At no point will the military start negotiating with the bandits. What I say is that if there's anything like negotiating with the bandits, it's dual with the civil authority. We don't have contact with bandits to the extent that we'll sit down and start negotiating with bandits. Ours is to eliminate bandits in the military circle. Now, what I said is there's nothing wrong with civil component negotiating with anybody. After all, even at the highest international level, we can see what's happening in Ukraine and Russia. People are talking about sitting down and negotiating. But in this situation, if for any reason the government or the civil company is going to negotiate with the bandit, it has to be from the position of strength. The government will determine how he wants it to be done. You don't allow bandits to tell you how you run your system. So if there's going to be anything, it is the government of the day that will determine how such meetings should go, and the terms and conditions must be to the favorable of the government of the day. That is how it's done.
So what are usually these terms and conditions?
Well, I don't know. All I know is that in situations where it happens that first and foremost you have to drop your weapons. If you're a bandit, you want peace, you drop your weapons, then the government can listen to you. You know, the government can drop your weapons, drop your armaments, or whatever it is, then the government can sit down and say, okay, what's your problem? What are your problems? People have sat down. I'll give an example. Right now, the Plateau State Governor has established a fact-finding committee on what is happening on the Plateau, and I am the chairman of that committee. And I tell you, we've gone around the 17 local government areas of Plateau State, and it's revealing. You know, we've been able to find out from the people why the killings, why the destructions happening in the Plateau, and you can hear so many things coming up. But the governor has put in place so many measures to reduce those carnage. And I believe in the last few weeks, you know that the situation in Plateau is calm. So I also advise that some of the state governors that have issues of insecurity, that we can also toe the toll of establishing fact-finding missions to go out and reach out to the people and find out what is the cause of the problem, why are you doing what you are doing. This is a country that is blessed with so many things, so we should be able to live together. And I believe the country is so big and so large to contain everybody.
Major General, I'd like to touch on a point that was mentioned very briefly at the beginning of this discussion, and that's in the area of rehabilitation. There's so many rehabilitation programs that have been going on for these bandits after they have been captured. Let's not even look at the judicial side and, you know, whether they are going to court or not, but let's just look at these rehabilitation programs. I'm curious to know, are you in agreement with these type of reforms and rehabilitating them back into society?
Well, the issue of rehabilitation for now looks like it is a one-sided affair, because we have issues of criminals who are also involved in killing in the southeast, in the south-south, and in the southwest, and even in the middle belt. But to find out the issue of rehabilitation has taken place only in the northeast. I think in Gombe State, where we have an outfit that tried to rehabilitate some of the Boko Haram elements. But one fact that I know as a commander is that it's not everybody that is involved in Boko Haram fight is really a core member of the Boko Haram. Some of them were coerced. In a community, once Boko Haram attacks a community and seizes that community, what it does is just get some young men and first slaughter them, kill them, and they put fear on the other people. Join us or you die. So people are coerced into joining it. So by the end of the day, you find out there are some innocent people that were actually brought into that fold. So what the military is trying to do, or the government is trying to do, is to be able to sort out who are these ones that we are brought in uncommittedly, you know, and see how we can bring them back to the set. Some of them are very, very good and are helping in operations. Well, during my operation in the northeast, I know there are some of the Boko Haram members that were captured in Sambisa Forest who told us they were not members of the Boko Haram, but they were coerced. And they joined us and they were actually leading us to their various camps. So it depends on how you manage the situation very well. And then be able to do a dicey, you know, sorting out, critical sorting out, vetting to find out who are the really criminals or who are those ones that were coerced.
Okay. Let me come in here. Let's look at the issue. I beg your pardon, Adesua. Let me just quickly drop this. Let's look at the inside story because and my question also has to do with the issue of the proliferation of small and light weapons and the Article 17 of the ECOWAS Convention that restricts member states from transferring those weapons. So now you've talked about deployment of the kinetic and non-kinetic policy at the war front, but what's the actual situation? Because we have a report on the military that are not so equipped and bandits that are exposed to very sophisticated weapons, and any time these weapons are retrieved from these bandits, they are destroyed according to the Small and Light Weapons Commission, engaging with the rule of Article 17 of the ECOWAS Convention that bans the transfer by member states of these small and light weapons. So if that is the case, is it a situation of our military less sophisticated fighting against a more sophisticated bandits?
It's not completely so. The Nigerian military is capable and well equipped to do what they are doing. But there are some gaps, really gaps. For instance, the intelligence part of it is a bit weak. And some platforms, you know, over the years, of recent that the government is doing a lot to equip the military. But while I was theater commander, it was really a very difficult situation for us. Because most of the equipment we have were equipment manufactured in 1955 and things like that. They were used during the Second World War that we were using. However, the issue is that, you see, at times, we don't take things serious in this country. Most of the weapons, sophisticated weapons that these people have, come all the way from Libya. If you remember during the Gaddafi crisis, a lot of weapons were moving in the south of Libya. We are moving into the Sahel. But as a country, we've never paid attention on what is happening in the Sahel, which is very critical. Right now, the Sahel is completely ungoverned space. So people do a lot of messy things in Sahel. So there is need for us to look into the Sahel, what is really happening in the Sahel. Now, these weapons, we know how Libya is equipped in terms of weapons. And they came in with so many weapons. And then the military, as at then, was not really equipped to handle some of those weapons. But right now, I'm sure that we are having a lot of weapons to deal with the situation. You can see the gains that's happening all over the battlefield. But having said that, there are certain limitations. You know, the land space in Nigeria is so big that we don't really have enough boots on the ground. That is a fact. And I don't think we can ever have enough boots on the ground, depending on the land mass. But having said that, there's need for us to use technology. Technology is lacking in this our current operations. Good intelligence is lacking in this operation. And then collaboration with neighboring nations. It's also like we know the situation between Nigeria and Niger Republic and others. So that is also affecting what we are doing. Because those countries freely allow people to pass through their country. And we know that our borders are very, very porous. So these are the challenges we have. But I think the military and the security agents are doing their best to bring the situation to an acceptable level.
Okay, right before we wrap up, can you hear me, Major General?
Yes, I can hear you.
I really appreciate that you've brought up the proliferation of weapons across the Sahel region and also terror and how essentially it's interconnected. When we're talking about, you know, we've talked about rehabilitation today, we've spoken about weapons, and we've spoken about these fighting terrorism in terms of a long-term agenda. Now, one of the things that Nigerians worry about is Boko Haram, it's ISWAP, it's Lakurawa, is that any new day you can wake up and you will hear a new terror group has shown up in the forest or a new terror group has shown up in Niger State. Just last month, a report was released saying that tuwo and food was being used to recruit 16-year-olds and 14-year-old boys in Niger State into Boko Haram camps. When we're focusing on non-kinetic strategies, can any be possibly successful in the long term if we do not shore up our local government? Because in a stage where our national security advisor is having to provide boreholes, isn't that a failure of government?
Well, the issue of failure of government has been on for a very long time. It didn't start today. So it will also be wrong for anybody to criticize the current administration, the failure of government. I don't totally agree to that, because over the years, we've seen how our system has been run, particularly in the last 8 years. It was a terrible situation. And then talking about the recruiting people, hunger is a factor that we must consider. If somebody pays the piper, of course, it dictates the tone. If people don't have something doing, if they don't have access to means of livelihood, they will resort to all manner of vices, negative vices. So these are some of the problems. So the government must come up with a strategic plan on how to reduce poverty, how to create job, create employment, how to create wealth for the people, how to protect the various communities. You know, the local government chairmen have a lot to do, the traditional institutions have a lot to do in protecting their local government area, passing necessary information to the desired authorities. For instance, all of a sudden we heard about Lakurawa, and we know that they've been on for about 10 years, and nobody's talking about them. The local government where they started, where they were operating, were quiet about it. They were comfortable with the situation, or not until they start killing them. So these are things that we're talking about. There is need for local government authorities, management of local government, to be wise, to be dedicated, to be loyal to this country. Not just being a local government for the fact of being a local government because you're a politician. No. Your commitment is to the nation. So these are what we're talking about. There has to be a deliberate effort across board, both at the sub-national, at the national level, to see how we can sort out some of these problems. Otherwise, we are in deep shit.
All right, thank you very much, sir. That was Major General Rogers Nicholas, former theatre commander, Operation Lafayette Doyle. Thank you, sir.